Hey, Ben.
Okay, Kirsten said she was in, but she's not here, right?
Is she in the attendees? She's in the attendees, yeah, in the public.
Okay, I'll move her over.
Oh, Mark's there too.
All right, David said he was waiting. Good thing John Parent likes me and answers my nighttime calls. Oh, you're already recording?
Okay, just started recording right away.
Well, they better edit that out.
I am here.
All right.
Evening.
Okay. Just a minute, so we need David.
Why do you have it on, say Andrew instead of gallery?
Andrew, he's in the panelists.
All righty. David. Why didn't Kristen move over? All right, I think we got everyone, right? Kristen, David.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, hold on one sec. I just got to get the agenda up. All right. So it is 7:06. Sorry for the delay. Had a little technical issue. Pursuant, this is the CPC Community Preservation Tuesday, February 28th, 7 p.m. Meeting pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, the act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency signed into law on June 16th, 2021. Meeting will be conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance by members of the public will be permitted. So with that, I call the meeting to order. First up on the agenda is Algonquin Regional School Committee Athletic Complex project, the tennis courts replacement. Let's see, I think Keith Lavoie, move you over. Mr. Desmond, move you over. And Catherine, we want Catherine over too, right, Keith?
Yes, please.
Okay. All righty. Let's see, Catherine.
It's Kathy Herval, Andy.
Oh, sorry.
She might not be here. I didn't, if it was
Oh,
Kathy
sorry,
Herval,
Catherine.
yeah,
McKee. Okay.
it might just be
Sorry.
Paul and I.
Okay, sorry. Sounds good. Welcome.
Thank you.
How you guys doing?
Doing well.
I
Thank
saw
you.
your presentation on the media the other day. I think you were at Algonquin High School. Looked great. Watched it, because I got nothing better to do. Well done, well done. So let's see, I know that you had a couple updates. You want to kick it off?
Sure. Just to summarize, I think last time you had us, and we do appreciate the opportunity to come before you to talk about it, is really refine our application to just be specific about Southborough's portion of the tennis courts as part of the larger project, just to make it as simple as possible. And we did figure out our math, and I did mess up that penny again. So thank you to Freddie Gillespie for catching that to refine it for this evening when we move forward, hopefully with a warrant article. So we were able to get 100% cost estimate from Gale Associates. They've been great. And we do have those 100% cost estimates part of our submission this evening. So the total request for the CPC for Southborough's portion of the tennis court construction would be $246,418.51. And that would include a $26,401.98 contingency for overage during the construction project. So that would be the total request that we would make of you this evening.
So that was a 26,401.98 was the contingency. Sorry.
That's correct. Freddie, I have that correct, right?
Not in front of me. Do you want to bring it up, Andrew?
I'll double check in.
Hold on. Gmail. One second here.
I think I have it right.
Let me try to share my screen. Where's the button for share?
Should be down the bottom in the middle. Green up arrow.
Okay. You've done this a couple times, haven't you?
A little bit.
All righty.
And Freddie was kind enough to prepare the warrant article language for tonight, and that's reflected on the screen here.
So I don't know if the rest of the committee, have you guys seen this warrant article? Mark?
No, I'm reading it now.
Okay, good.
I'm reading it as well.
Do we know what? And I don't know if it's relevant to put it in here or not, but the question obviously is going to come up on what the funding is contingent on Northborough funding their portion of the project. Do we know what that amount is?
Well, I think the school committee does, but I don't know if we want to.
I'm not saying put it, yeah, I think I guess more curious. I don't know that the question will come up right in town meeting, so.
I'll look to Keith to answer that one, or Paul. At town
Yeah, I
meeting.
think the way that Freddie has worded it here probably makes the most sense. Northborough's funding, for the project to move forward at all is contingent upon, both the towns moving forward with the warrant articles at the time of town meeting. This one, Northborough is not doing a CPC portion. They are doing a straight bonding or whatever mechanism they're able to do it moving forward. But that's going to be the appropriation made at town meeting would be Northborough's portion. So without Southborough and Northborough's portion, or one or the other, the project, won't move forward simply. it'll be more.
I think Keith, what Kristen was saying is just have in your back pocket when someone say, okay, that's a lot of money. How much is Northborough? Because we normally, Southborough usually pays less. So if you're able to say like, oh yeah, the Northborough, maybe we can tee it up if we're gonna go into do a little presentation, just be able to say that the Northborough portion is, I think it's, I know it's larger.
It
right?
is, yes, it's 67% roughly, and in Southborough is 33, based on the regional agreement of the 4 years average enrollment.
Yeah, so
Can I jump in? When you go in front of the selectmen to review this warrant article, you may want to have that information available. Normally, when you go in front of the selectmen, Andrew, you have a date for that?
yeah,
We asked, the CPC asked, it's a CPC's article, but they asked the project proponent to be there to answer any questions that may come up. I imagine that they're well aware of this, but we don't put every detail in the warrant article, but you might want to have that available at that time. This is based on a, what's that term you call it?
regional agreement,
The regional agreement?
yeah.
Yes, it will be, and Superintendent Martineau is prepared with a presentation for that, and it will include the Northborough side of things.
So you might want to, when you have that actual number, send that to me and Andrew so that the CPC has it if somebody asks us independently.
So, and Freddie, thanks for bringing that up, because I got a call from Kathy Cook today asking myself and any other members from the CPC who want to join the select board meeting at their next meeting, which is March 7th, to review this article that's being proposed and also to weigh in on another article that has CPC implications. So I didn't know, Keith or Paul, if you guys got the same invitation from the select board, or if you could attend in case there are deeper questions they might have on March 7th.
I know we have Northborough planning that evening as well, but Greg and I will probably divide and conquer. You'll have one of us for sure.
Okay, I don't know what time or anything like that. It was just, like I said, I got a call today.
Sure.
So
I'm available as well, so.
okay,
Thank you, Paul. And
great.
Andy, just so you're aware, in the updated application that I submitted a week and a half ago or so, under the budget section, I think it's number 6, it does have a chart of what Northborough share of the tennis courts would be. So,
Okay.
that might help it with a little bit of understanding. And the difference is it's 37.67% for Southborough and 62.33% for Northborough. When we're just talking about the tennis courts themselves, and I broke out those numbers with the contingency to give you the total.
Okay, no, that's perfect. Thank you. Mark, I see you intently still reading this.
No, I'm typing notes. I finished it. I'm fine. I'm
Okay.
fine.
And he's memorizing it.
Can I make a couple of comments about it? For the CPCs, you had discussed that you wanted it to have a sunset clause or a time that if they don't start well, 2 things. One, that Northborough funds their share, and also that the project moves forward. And if for some reason it doesn't, we're not left with this money hanging out there, not being able to come back to the CPC account where it belongs. And Andrew said he thought 2 years was appropriate. Is that correct, Andrew?
Yep,
So I put that in here. I'm not sure when town council reviews this, if he's going to want that exact language. He might want something different that says the same thing, but better, unless Mark has some ideas. So I would ask that when the committee votes to approve this, they give Andrew, working with me, permission to make any changes that don't impact the meaning of your article, but that allow the language to be corrected if needed, if that makes sense.
I'm not concerned with that.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
want to have it as a vote because the CPC is very clear that only articles they vote on go to town meeting floor. So that's a good part of your vote. And the
Freddie,
other thing I wasn't sure, Keith,
Mhm.
who is directing this? I put both you and Greg in there under summary.
Yeah, I saw that. I think that's fair.
Okay. Is it 2 years, Keith and Paul? Does that work? I mean, the project is. Yeah, if it needs to be longer, that's fine, but I figured. It's just not the completion, but it starts within 2 years.
Yeah, I'd say that's more than fine, right, Keith?
I would agree, Paul. Yes.
Okay. So, great. Any other questions from the CPC on this? Is everyone comfortable with it?
yeah, I think it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Do I hear a motion to use the language discussed tonight for the Algonquin Regional High School Athletic Complex warrant article as reviewed and discussed this evening?
So moved with the proviso that you and Freddie can work with town council to change the text to make it legally acceptable without changing the meaning of the warrant article.
Great. Is there a
Second.
second?
Second.
Excellent. All those in favor, go as I see you. Mark,
Yes,
Kristen,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
and Andrew is a yes. Excellent.
Excellent.
I'll take the yellow out. I just wanted you to be able to get the numbers.
Thank you.
We really appreciate the CPC's support. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Wow, thanks for
go
your,
yet.
I appreciate it.
Don't
Thank
go
you.
yet, it's the MOU.
I'm not going anywhere.
We had somebody do that once before and we couldn't get them back and
right. So 1 second here, let me find the. Freddie, I have a copy of the MOU, right?
yeah, it came late. I decided that it would be better to discuss it, make sure we're all on the same page. You have a meeting, the CPC has a meeting on the 16th. We can draft it after tonight. I had some extra questions that hadn't been brought up last time, I think. So make sure everyone's on the same page and then we can draft it and hopefully, agree on it on the 16th and sign it before town meeting, which is better than waiting longer. These are from last meeting's minutes, and I added some things in.
All right. So the draft MOU discuss key items to be included in the MOU as follows. The project is contingent on Northborough paying their share identifies their share identified.
Yeah, I'll fix that. I think this here will be more specific with the information Keith was referencing in the other document. That's what we have time to put in. Because we don't want to say their share. We want to use the correct terms. This was just from the minutes from last meeting.
Yeah,
right?
I was just changing it to identified instead
Yeah.
of identified. In the IMA, isn't it the regional? Is it IMA or is it regional collaborative agreement? Keith,
I would say it's part of the, identified as part of the regional agreement for the Northborough, Southborough Regional School Committee.
See, that was the term that Kathy Cook used last time. I think it's
Oh, was it?
our intermunicipal agreement.
Oh,
IMA.
right.
Why don't we find out write them both, Andrew, and we'll find out which one is correct before we finalize it.
IMA and or regional agreement.
Okay.
Oh,
Monies will only be used for the tennis courts, pickleball courts, and basketball courts as described in the revised application. Um. At. Algonquin High School, as described in the revised application. Contingency funds, if project is over budget, applicants. Must come to the CPC to request contingency funds. The contingency funds are only and only be used for the tennis courts, pickleball courts, and basketball courts.
Is basketball singular?
It is singular. Yep.
Do we need to, and this might be overthinking it, but I assume, I can't recall off the top of my head, but it's the courts, but I assume it's also associated fencing and probably some rework around those. And I just don't want someone to like call us on a
lang-
technicality.
There's language that Keith sent in an email I forwarded right before the meeting, that we can put in there.
Okay.
Exactly what you're going to do.
Yeah, Krista, and it would include what you just mentioned, concrete walkway,
Yeah,
equipment for the courts and the fencing, correct?
yeah. So Freddie, it sounds like there's language we can add. You would think it was implied, but you know, someone will.
Of course, I get it.
That's why I asked to not finish this tonight, because some of that language just came.
Just over budget, the applicants must before the CPC to request the funds. Funds must be related to the cost estimate. How about we just say the contingency funds must be related to the original scope of the project?
Mhm. That works.
yeah. Good call.
Think you want to be specific, Andrew? Well, you were before, so never mind. And this is between the CPC and the regional school committee, and, you know, you're in agreement, so it's not like someone else coming in and say, oh, go pay for this.
Yeah, I know, I'm thinking of it like Kristen was, if someone was really to be nitpicky and go through this and with from a, I don't know. From a
But yeah,
different lens, that it was very clear, that's all, so.
I
Continues.
was going to make it even clearer, so
Yeah, no.
we don't need to do
Funds
that.
to Stay in the CPC accounts until they're requested. Until they are requested and approved by the CPC.
It's not until, until, what is it? Unless they are requested.
Requested by the applicant and approved by CPC.
mhm.
Okay, project funds, funding conditions to be met or funds will be returned to the CPC account without a town meeting vote as
It's
sunset.
as out.
This may be overthinking it as well, but the sunset provision sentence,
Yeah,
project shall start in 2 years, June 2025, that's fine. You can imagine something lingering and not being completed. Do you want to put in some language like to be substantially completed within a reasonable time, or is that overthinking things?
I don't think it is, because when I read that, I kind of started saying, okay, well, somebody could look at this and say the project will start in 2 years, June 2025. We mean, we expect the project, and I guess to your point, a point of clarification, do we just expect the project to start sometime between June 2023 or July 2023 and June 2025? Or are we expecting that the project's, to your point, mostly completed between the period of July 2023 and June 2025?
Well, I don't want to handcuff people too much,
Yeah.
but I think substantial completion is a pretty good idea to address. And you use a term like a reasonable amount of time to be completed in a reasonable, substantially completed in a reasonable amount of time.
So project shall start no later than June 2025. Substantial completion shall be achieved, within 3 years or something like that.
I think I have no problem putting a time constraint or leaving it open just within a
Yeah.
reasonable time, but I like your 3-year idea, Ben.
I think that
seems
leaves,
like-
yeah, I think it leaves plenty of time for, this really isn't the big dig. I think unless Paul and Keith
No,
feel worried by that.
We're not done by June 2025. I'm not going to be happy, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
July.
Again, this is
Some
not
leeway.
supposed to jam you guys up. It's just to say things don't happen. We get the funds come back and we don't have to
No,
go.
I'm saying that's plenty of time.
Yeah, okay, no, good. Okay,
Basically, if for something goes wrong at a town, not goes wrong, but unexpected at a town meeting and they can't vote, just say like COVID happened and then postpone the meeting. You're expecting to go into construction in June of this year.
Mhm.
So this, but you want to, this gives leeway for unexpected events, right?
And I'd stick in the word substantially completed, because again, I don't want to handcuff somebody too much if things happen, but we do want to set expectations a bit.
Agree.
Thanks, I think that's great.
So I don't know how you want to write this differently, but it is contingent on Northborough's funding their share, right?
that's up here.
Where,
Okay,
that's number one, so, but it's contingent, but it doesn't say the money comes back. Project doesn't start unless they do, but I don't know if you want to put that in the sunset area.
well, it says right here, Northborough funds their share of the tennis courts.
Right. We could say that better. Is all I'm saying. That was just a quick. Their proportion or their. As noted above or something. I just wanted to be clear why it's in there twice. Because you want to be sure the funding comes back.
Maybe, shouldn't it be case Northborough fails to fund their share in this instance?
Not good. Declines to fund their share for the intermunicipal agreement regional for the tennis courts.
I'd take out the parentheses or do something.
Well, we have to figure out what we're gonna say here. Is it either the IMA or the regional school agreement?
So that's a holder, not either or.
Right.
Okay. These were some questions I came up with.
So when when are the main project funds to be released after the Northborough vote? At construction start, tennis courts portion of the project. We request to transfer the funds account. So personally, I'd be comfortable with releasing the funds when the first when ground has been broken and the first bill comes in, that the funds get released to be used. Personally, I don't want to get tied up with, you know, the timing for who's ever going to be doing this. I know with what we went through with the fire station here, it can get very complicated and time sensitive. You know, this is a small piece of a much bigger project that's going to go on. So I'd be comfortable with letting it be released to the town and pay as the bills come in.
So the question I have here is, you said when ground is broken, is that for the whole, like, what's your schedule like? Paul or Keith? Is there going to
to
be a
be-
time delay between the tennis courts or the other work that's being done?
There will likely be phases that will start hopefully in June of 2023 and happen, but a lot of this work is going to be happening simultaneously on the different areas. So it's not like one phase needs to be complete and then the other, and that's going to be the work we do with our project manager, Gale Associates, as well as the contractor that wins the bid. So that schedule will be to be determined, and once it is, I'd be happy to share it with the CPC so they're aware of when it will occur, but it is likely going to be breaking ground at the tennis courts, I would say in June or July of this year.
And who would hold the money? Because, we're normally stuff goes through town gov, but this is a regional school. Is that different? Should the money go, you're going to request the funding when something starts?
Mhm.
Who do you transfer it to? Will you have an account for this project?
I believe so. I think Becky Pellegrino, I believe there is going to be an account established for this project, and that is certainly something I can get to in short order.
'Cause I
Plans.
think you want to clarify that, right? That it doesn't just go to.
Yeah.
We transfer the amount, and you're talking, Andrew, transferring the full amount except for the contingency
Correct,
at the beginning.
correct.
And that
Well,
sounds
well, that-
wonderful.
When ground is broken on the tennis courts.
So we will want these answers. We want these questions answered. Who will request the transfer and what account? You're going to get back on that.
I will. I'll talk to Rebecca Pellegrino, Director of Finance, about that.
And I wanted the committee to, I believe your next meeting is March 16th, which is before town meeting. We'll have this we agreed we'll have this finalized before then.
Shouldn't be a problem.
Is that all right, Andrew?
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, yeah. That
And
would
then
be good.
I know this sounds petty unless you're in this committee. Keith sent an application with all the right numbers, but the verbiage wasn't specific to the tennis courts. And I think it would be better for your record keeping if we get another one where all that other stuff's taken out, because we're not concerned about stuff that CPA can't fund. If you read the application, you sent over some better language.
Okay,
Keith, does that make sense?
I did. I sent over a paragraph, and like you had mentioned to me earlier, Freddie, redacting all the things about the other parts of the project, because this is one of, this is one small piece of a much larger project. I could revise, if the committee wishes, revise the application to just include the tennis courts. And that would be fine. I could do that.
It's up to the committee, but you don't really want your application, somebody looks at it in the future saying, oh, look, they funded this project with bleachers and
yeah,
turf fields.
no, that would be ideal to just keep it nice and tight.
Okay.
So,
I will do it again.
And I want to thank Keith because it was a last minute request on my part, and your language, if you notice, made it into some of the warrant article, Keith.
I do appreciate that, Freddie. Thank you.
No, I appreciate your quick response. Thank you.
I missed taco night, but I got it done. I'm joking.
Sorry about that.
Don't
Um,
sweat it.
I had written up a draft
Hey,
motion.
Freddie, I didn't have to do cleanup. I was pretty happy. So you helped me out. A little bit of both.
And you can just delete this. I had thought you might want some language for a draft motion, but approving the warrant was a better way to go.
okay. All right, so there's gonna be a couple more tweaks to this. We'll vote in the future, but is everyone comfortable with what we have for the current MOU in the direction we're headed?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Anything missing?
I don't think so.
No,
Just what wonderful applicants Keith and Paul have been throughout this whole process. That's the only thing.
Not a problem.
You can
And
leave
Greg,
that
when
out.
he was here too, the whole team. Thank you.
yeah, thank you. As someone who has 2 kids entering into the school soon, I'm really excited.
That's great. Thank you,
Good.
Kristen.
Tell your friends.
Oh, believe me,
Please do.
absolutely. We're out there already.
I'll revise it 15 more times if we can get this whole thing done. Let me tell you, I'll do it many times as it takes, believe me. Yeah, but Andy and Freddie, I will get you that revised, much more simplified application forthwith. So,
That'd be great. Again, I mean, it's just for our records. It'd be great to have it, just so we don't have it lingering out there.
that's right. I would agree.
All right. Let me see here.
And then Andrew and I can create the draft MOU and send you a copy, Keith and
Mhm.
Paul, so you're comfortable that everyone's on the same page. We don't sneak in any, throw me a party language.
Throw me a party. Let me just see. Sorry, I'm trying to get back to the agenda, which I lost. Freddie, do you have the agenda in front of you? Sorry, was there anything else for the tennis courts? You guys there? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
No, I think I'm good.
I'm good.
it says, review revised application, create MOU and finalize warrant article on the agenda.
I just said done, done, done.
All right. I guess we're good. Keith, Paul, thank you. So if you can just let me know who can make it on next Tuesday with the select board, that'd be great. I'll probably try to attend in person. I don't know if you guys want to or not, but that'd be great. Hopefully it'll go pretty quick. I don't anticipate a lot of questions on it, but you never know.
Sounds
Good.
good.
Excellent.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
We do.
Thank you. Appreciate
Very
it.
much. Have a good
Thanks,
night.
You.
Have a good
You
night.
too.
Good night. Andrew, you should check with the committee if members want to attend so that if you have a quorum, you can post it or maybe post it just in case, but maybe it's the last thing anyone here wants to do on a Tuesday night.
I'll be out of town, I'm afraid.
All right. Any other takers? Ben, do you want to come?
I'm sorry, I haven't even looked at my schedule yet. Sorry.
There might be other reasons to go, so wait till the end of the evening, I would suggest.
All right. Just so we can talk about that later. Just want to, I'm going to move things around a little bit on the agenda, go to discussion of the Trails Committee. With, hold on one second here. Couldn't find my little adapter to use my other screen, so let me get Catherine over here. Here she comes. Catherine, you're in. Great.
Hello.
Hey, welcome. How are you? Good to see you.
Good.
Nice
How are
to
you
see-
guys?
Nice to
Good.
see you, Pat.
Thanks for having us and taking the time.
So let's see. So we're gonna get an update on the trails. Is that?
Yeah, quick update. I circulated late last night a couple pages just to kind of frame our discussion tonight and to share the MOU so it was at our fingertips. So the purpose of our discussion tonight is for me to update you on where we are with the project, to let you know it's getting started soon. To confirm the use of the CPA funding on the proposed project components and discuss any relationship with the other funding and how that might work or need to work. So has everyone had an opportunity to take a look at the document I circulated?
I'm pulling it up now, just a second.
Great background, Cat, by the way. I like that.
This past weekend, it's Lonesome Lake up in Lincoln, New Hampshire,
Very nice.
learning to build snow shelters. Would you like me to share, Andrew? Would that be easier for you?
Yeah, sure. That's fine. One second.
Is that a yes?
Yeah,
Oh.
let me just promote you. So.
Okay.
Um, All right, so I made you a co-host, so you should be able to share now.
Great. So you guys, let me know when you see a PDF.
See it.
We got it.
Okay, so the 3 bullet points that are highlighted here, just what I just said. So basically this first little section is an extract exactly from the MOU. with our budget outlined. And then, so what we need to talk about tonight is there's been some evolution to the project in a good way. We had alluded to an expanded scope in the original application and also in the MOU. And so since 2 years ago, we have been able to add various project components to the project. And we applied for a Mass Trails grant, and we, as we had initially wanted to do, we used the CPA money as matching funds in addition to some other funds or some other matching funds that we had. And we were awarded a Mass Trails grant, but we weren't awarded the same full amount that we had requested. So we had also at the same time approached the ARPA committee. That was an opportunity unique to the town to ask for funding and if we did not receive the full amount from Mass Trails grant. So in addition to the 50,000 from Mass Trails, we received some ARPA funds to finish the project. So what we needed to do for Mass Trails grant was basically carve out from our project what project components would be paid for by the Mass Trails grant. And the most straightforward approach, because it fit within the $50,000 bucket, was to apply the relocation of the access gate, the accessible parking, installing the golden fence, as we've called it, and installing some signage. So the Mass Trails grant will fund that piece. So what has shifted for this project for CPA funds is that core project that I just described, phase 1 here on the screen, was what we presented to CPC. So my question and what the Trails Committee would like to know is we had alluded to an expanded scope. And so we want to know if we can spend some of the money on the core project phase 1 and then some of the money on the expanded scope and for trail enhancements. So the phase 2 is outlined here, which is basically we've put out a bid to hire a project manager to oversee phase 2 to build a natural earth surface trail on the other side where the core project was, the phase 1 was focused on the western side. So on the eastern side, where we're connecting to the Bay Circuit Trail, we're going to be installing an ADA elevated boardwalk and a pedestrian footbridge so that we don't have to walk on Route 30 anymore, and some bog bridges and some other things there in addition to a crosswalk. So that's what phase 2 is. And so I'll stop there and see if we have any questions or if I can explain something a little bit more, that will be helpful.
Hey, the committee, do you guys have any questions, or does the committee have any questions? Sorry.
So tell me, how about, can you describe the pedestrian footbridge for me?
Yes, so it's going to be approximately 65 feet. And when we initially grabbed estimates, we are looking at a fiberglass bridge and a fiberglass boardwalk. The reason is the longevity and the low maintenance of the materials. They're more expensive out of the initially, but over time it's more cost effective, especially given the small committee that we are and the limited budget that we have. We opted to go with that type of material, which was recommended to us by a consultant. And it has to be ADA compliant for good reasons, but because it's federally funded too. So.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions from the committee?
Yeah. So as I understand it, the Mass Trails grant is, well, first, the being able to do phase 2 is fantastic. I'm thrilled that the opportunity is there. Just want to make sure that we all wrap our minds around the how this gets paid for. We may even need a little bit of input from the coalition to make sure we're not making any mistakes. As I understand it, the Mass Trails grant is a reimbursement type grant. So you spend the money and then get reimbursed for it. So it sounds like what will happen is CPC funds would be used. I see you shaking your head no, so I may be wrong on this. Oh okay.
I know what you're gonna ask, and
Oh,
so why
okay,
don't you finish, what you're asking, and I'll.
Okay. It sounds like I'm wrong from the get-go. I was assuming that you'd have to use the CPA funds to initially do the work and then be reimbursed, and then those funds could be redeployed on phase two. But if that isn't the case, I think that simplifies things quite a bit.
Right, and I thought the same thing, Ben, right? So we met with the finance team in town to confirm how this would all work, because we want to make sure we're doing the right thing and that we're proceeding in the correct way. And so the town confirmed that we would not need to use CPA funds to, because I don't think you can, so that
Right.
the town will pay the vendor and being reimbursed by the grant.
Oh,
So
great.
it have nothing to do with CPC funds as far as the reimbursable aspect of it. So we're in the clear on that front.
Okay, fantastic, fantastic. And the so the ARPA funding, is it as targeted as the Mass Trails Grant and CPC? And we, ours are allocated for very specific purposes. Is the ARPA also that limited?
That
Or-
limited.
Is it has to be spent on very specific components of the overall project?
Right, no, it's not limited in that way. So we
Oh, it's
have some
not.
flexibility with the ARPA money, right?
Oh,
So
okay, great.
right, and so what I've done here is try to divide it out by components so you could see where is the CPC funding going and
Okay.
how it aligns with our original application and how it deviates slightly. So this first table is what we're proposing is 11,472 would be of the CPA money that would apply to phase one, right? So that's where we're all in agreement. The MOUs, talks about that the application was about this. And then what we're asking to do is the remainder, so the 11,472 would apply to phase two components, right? Where it can apply. So for example, phase two has a crosswalk. We are not going to apply CPC funding for that. So it would just be for the, the bridge and the other project components that are required and listed here. So I'm going to slowly scroll down here and show you here. Phase one would have 11,472. Phase two would be 265. And then contingency, we understand, requires CPC approval. So, but that's how the 47 is divided out.
Thank you. Okay, so not as complicated as I had feared. That's great news. Thank you for explaining.
Oh, it's complicated.
Hey.
But,
I thought it was even worse. Let's put it that way.
okay, good. It's a beast.
Any other questions?
Um,
Ask a question?
I'm just,
Yeah, Kristen.
So
I'm
Catherine,
just, oh, go ahead, Freddie.
was that Kristen? I'll let Kristen go. Sorry. Go ahead, Kristen.
I'm just curious. I had to miss the rec meeting last week. Did you go to rec and did they have any feedback or was this not on the agenda?
It was, Tim presented it in front of rec. He just provided a basic summary to rec about where we were with the bid and that we were coming to close on the bid documents, and they had no detailed conversation. I watched the video clip, so there wasn't a lot of dialogue about it.
Okay. Thank you.
We didn't get into this detail. They didn't discuss this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, that makes sense. Thank you.
So Kat, thank you for this very clear layout. Just to be clear, under the TBD up above, that
Mhm.
CPA funds estimate, because you don't know how much you don't want to allocate towards anything because you're not sure what is going to come in with the bid. Is that?
Well, no, so these are no bid items and they say TBD because I'm here before the committee to ensure that we're allowed to use the CPA funds as proposed. So that's why it's a TBD.
So the CPC could determine which of these things they thought was most relevant for the funding to come out of, or do you just want it looser than that?
Well, we were hoping for a little flexibility just because it is a very complex and multifaceted project. So we want to make sure we're working within the bounds of CPC, the requirements, but it would be great if we had some flexibility to, kind of go in between some of the project components. Obviously, we want to make sure that, like, crosswalks, you're not, I think that's true, that CPC money cannot be used for a crosswalk. So if there's any, I don't know if there's any components here that I've listed that are not, that CPC funds can't be used for.
So would it be correct to say the dollar amount below where the cursor, oh, that's my cursor, under the CPA funding breakdown? This total for this project is 162,947, and you think you have 31,265 left to put to those things above, and that could be what the CPC is agreeing to tonight, correct?
Well, we haven't spent any CPC money, so.
Right,
the
but you're
11,472
allocating the 11,472 for phase one.
Yeah.
And then you believe the 31,265 will go to these components of phase two,
right.
but you don't want to be, 600 for this and 2,500 for that.
Yeah, we don't want to be restricted to
Okay.
exact dollar amounts if we can afford that. And if, again, phase one comes in under because our quote for signage actually was lower, then we would like some flexibility to then apply that additional money to phase two, right? And phase two is also going to include these components, right? So even though they're going out to bid, funding needs to be used to cover some of this as well. Does that
Do
answer
you-
that question?
Yeah, that's a great answer. And do you have a, I noticed plantings are included, which is a wonderful, that you thought about it, because often people don't think about it, and then they're like, oh my goodness, we denuded a whole hillside, we have to do something, so. But you can't know what that cost is really going to be until you do the work and know how big of an area was disturbed, or if conservation wants something. So how would you propose doing that after the fact? Like use the CPC money, CPA money up front on hard, the bigger items, and then see what's left from the ARPA money afterwards?
I think it would kind of work like that, right? So we got a rough estimate going into our projections so that we had some idea of what to put as a number, but we do believe there's going to be fluctuation in our estimates, of course. So I think, so I don't know how to actually answer what CP, yeah, I don't, if you can rephrase that, so I'm making sure I'm answering correctly, because I could go
Well,
off.
I'm
tangent.
seeing you have some unknown cost, right?
Mhm,
Because of the plantings, and you also have some unknown costs because of the bid.
mhm.
And then you
Yes.
may have some funding availability, flexibility with the ARPA funding.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to hear that. For the plantings anyhow. And the Open Space Commission would be, as you know, really happy to work with you on that when you get there.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I guess I'd just say that the broad areas where you're proposing to spend these funds, as to the extent that it's possible, these broad areas certainly fall within what I think is fundable under CPA, the enhancement of open space and provision of passive recreation on it. So we have sort of a grand scope of the project. We understand where CPA funds may be redeployed depending on where bids come in and variables uncovered during construction, but we understand they're going to be deployed to fundable portions of the project. So
Yeah.
If that's a correct statement, then I would feel very comfortable with this.
Agreed.
Could I say one other? Because we're not sure on this project how you're expecting to be paid. Typically, the CPC gets invoices and we pay the invoices. And when I'm looking at that and you have, I forget how much money was left, after, is this phase one up top?
Are we just talking the CP? Yeah, this table, is this helpful, Freddie?
Yeah.
Okay.
So phase two, right? When you go down to phase two at 31,265, you
Mhm.
have something there that's a big ticket item.
Do
Oh,
we
look.
have some? So no, the 31 is broken, so it would be broken down into different components, and I think I hear your question will be, it may be challenging for us to match up these numbers with specific invoices, right? The way that we're proposing it. So I think, is
Well,
that a
if you-
word of caution to just be aware?
Scroll down a little bit. Was there more under phase two?
Not here.
Scroll up then. Sorry, I saw something there that, yeah, slow down. Oh, I was looking at the fiberglass boardwalk kit
Mhm.
and, be nice if that's what we were funding. One check is all I'm,
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I can
doesn't
certainly
have to be
work.
that, but fewer invoices would be better for the CPC, I think.
Okay.
I'm just saying that from my perspective, but
Yep. No, I
It's
think
easier
it'd
to
be
talk.
better and easier for everybody if we tried to do that. There might be where we get to the end and it might be a little difficult, so I'll have to see what we can do to minimize, but I'll take that under advisement and do our best to consolidate
and
expenses.
I know it depends on when stuff's ready and when you need the money, but
Yeah.
just if it
Yeah.
just makes it easier.
Can I ask a question about the billing process? I have some information offline that I can read, but do I need to attend a meeting each time there's
Oh.
something that needs to be paid, or is that just goes through Freddie in the back end? and
Just
she
go
has-
through Freddie.
Okay,
Like when we get close to the end of the project, like when you're like 70% done,
Yeah.
be good to come in and say, hey, just want you to know, we're getting close to the end. This is how much we've used and this is where we're at to get an update. But you know, you do not need to come in every time.
I think we
Yeah.
like biannually update every 6 months and you don't always have to come in,
okay.
but the committee likes to hear what you're doing.
No, we can't wait to get this going and share.
And to
updates.
also be there if you run into problems, like, to be supportive.
Thank you.
So is there a motion to allow the Trails Committee to use the phase two portion of the CPC funds to further project for the new trail?
So moved. Second,
All right. All those in favor, Mark,
yes.
David,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
and Andrew is a yes.
Great.
Caitlin, great job.
Thank you.
Kath-
Appreciate all your support.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We'll talk
thank
soon.
you.
All right. Have a good night.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Good night.
Good night.
All righty, let me get back to the agenda here. If I can find it. So the other thing, review of annual town meeting warrant articles. So that one, so like I said earlier, the CPC, sorry. Kathy Cook asked if I would, someone from the CPC would attend to review the warrant articles that were CPC related. The two she specifically requested were one, the high school tennis court, basketball court, pickleball courts, and the other was the request for the affordable housing trust funds to move right into the affordable housing, or sorry, the affordable housing funds move straight into the affordable housing trust. Which with discussions with Freddie, who's been doing some research on this and talking to the coalition. For that to just happen automatically. Freddie, my understanding is it's illegal, correct?
I would say it is, yeah, it doesn't comply with the enabling legislation of the Community Preservation Act. I emailed you some, two, they both say the same thing, but I just wanted to show you they were consistent since 2000 and moving forward. Community Preservation Act, as you know, is a surcharge on your taxes, so therefore it's a tax, and it is overseen by the Department of Revenue. And every once in a while, they issue these advisory, you know, overview of what's required. And I sent you those, and in one, I just highlighted the portion, and the other one you can, it's very specific. So if you go to this one here, if you scroll down, Andrew,
Yeah, I just gotta wait a second
till it loads, I believe that's on page 14 of that one. I sent it in the email body, I think.
you guys see my screen? Yeah, right?
Yeah,
Number 4, if you scroll down to, I don't know which number though, 4.
Right here?
Yeah, so the legislative body, that's town meeting for a town. Some, you know, in a city, it might be the mayor. So see what it says, who can make stuff, right? If somebody wants to read it aloud, you can all hear.
Legislative body may not increase any recommended portion or reservation may not change the funding source recommended by the CPC. In addition, it may not appropriate or reserve any CP fund monies on its own initiative without the prior recommendation of the CPC.
Except for in these 4 very restrictive times, none of which is this town meeting. So if we put a bond out, we still owe money on it, we get rid of the CPA and there's no CPC, they still have to pay the bond money.
Yeah.
So, and these advisories go out, if you go to the top, I'm not sure if this one says it, but they go out to just scroll down, distribution. The other one I saw said Board of Selectmen and town councils as well.
This is right to town councils,
So they should be aware of this.
mayors, selectmen.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm planning on attending. I don't know, Ben, if you can attend too, or if anyone else wants to attend. Sorry, Ben, you're on mute.
Yep, sorry. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that. I gotta talk to my wife and see if we can rearrange things.
Yeah, no problem. If anyone else is interested, let me know and I can post it as a meeting. But I am going to less, I guess, take a vote from the CPC where we stand in not supporting the request to just have the funds automatically go without going through a CPC warrant article.
I did send you the language of the draft warrant article. I had been asking for it for a while, and I recently found I had it in a not this one. I sent it was a separate email. This here is a link to another one of those Department of Revenue notices. So here's the article.
See if the town will vote to transfer the community preservation funds for the sum of money to the Affordable Housing Trust for the purposes of facilitating affordable housing consistent with GL blah, blah, blah. Or
And I believe
to,
they want to take the full balance in the affordable, in the community housing bucket. And it's not consistent with general law because
So-
that only allows CPC to make the recommendations, so.
Sorry, guys, this is where I need a little bit of education, being newer to the process, but is there a specific amount? I didn't think there was a specific amount allocated to, for example, affordable housing or
yeah,
for that
part of the,
purpose.
part of the 10% set aside every year is for affordable housing.
So for
So-
over a decade, no one has made an application for these funds, so it's been the 10% set aside has been growing. And then what someone can do, either the selectmen for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund or an outside group could come to the CPC and put an application in that the CPC would review like any other application. And then make a take a vote, make a recommendation, and then it would go to town meeting to vote.
Yeah,
This here has no CPC involvement in it,
why?
and that's not legally in line with the enabling legislation.
And I'm sorry if I missed it, but what's their objective here? Like why do we have to change the process, I guess? From their standpoint.
That's a great question because they've never come before us and asked us to even, this is the first time anyone's asked for our opinion on this.
Mhm.
And, you
You
know,
also have two seats on the committee for representing entities with affordable housing that are long time unfilled, so.
so
Is there concern that, I mean, like in theory, if somebody came forward with a request not related to affordable housing trust, the affordable housing, sorry, 10%. Can you touch that money for other reasons, or is it even within CPC, it's completely guarded?
no, I think what Freddie was indicating before, if someone came before us like
Yeah.
a town resident and said, hey, I want to take, I'm gonna create an affordable housing. I have this empty lot. I need $200,000 to create a home for it, and I'm gonna sell it as affordable housing. They could come forward and do that if someone wanted to, or say, hey, I'm gonna build the house for free. I just need to buy the land and it's $200,000. And if, we would go through my recommendation, if that were to occur, we go through the normal process, probably reach out to the selectmen. We're talking about the purchase of land, so it would go to the affordable housing committees too, ask for their input on it to make sure it's aligned with that. Just like we would with a historic or an open space project or anything like that. But, vet it through and make sure it aligns with the overall goals of the town through the master plan.
Mhm.
And it could get funded. Now,
There's another complication too, Andrew, which we've never faced in the past when the CPC had never faced in the past. I think the Department of Revenue recommends, and the Community Preservation Coalition, that if you transfer any money to a housing trust fund, which is very different than a project, that you have, our memorandum of understanding looks like training wheels compared to what the recommendation that is made for these affordable housing trust fund monies to ensure that they follow the CPA requirements. This is not something this committee made up, but it's the way they now require it. Also, Department of Revenue requires them to report back to the CPC every penny spent out of the housing trust fund that came from CPA money. So it's more complicated today than it was when they first set up the housing trust fund in the past. So you want to be aware of that as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah, no, and thanks for asking, Kristen. Please don't feel shy about asking anything like that. It is complicated.
Yeah, I
And there's a
appreciate
lot
it.
of history that, some of us have, so. Keep
Yeah, I think
asking.
Appreciate that.
there's another angle to it too. which is that the entire purpose of the Community Preservation Act is to set up a separate funding mechanism outside of the traditional funding mechanisms that municipalities use to fund their normal operations. And this is to address the things that during budgeting time every year, the things that tend to get pushed off the edge of the table, things like open space recreation, affordable housing, historical preservation, and so forth. And to achieve that goal, it's specifically an alternative funding source, which in Southborough means that it's outside of the direct control of the selectmen. And it's set up very intentionally that way to have this complete separate funding mechanism. So it's not a huge problem in town, but there is a little bit of friction here, with the CPA trying to maintain our legally mandated independence here. But the selectmen also, wanting to take charge of the community preservation budget in direct expenditures. So I think, at least for my part, I feel very protective of CPA and take, our responsibility here pretty seriously. So with this select board, without even coming to us with an application, sort of directing the expenditure of funds or the transfer of funds, it's a little bit troubling.
So I'm obviously newbie, but I agree with you from everything I understand. This seems a little flying in the face of the purpose of this committee to begin with.
So if there are any other questions, I guess, was there a motion that we do not support said Article 35 as presented?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
All those in favor of not supporting Article 35? Ben?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
And Kristen?
Yes.
And Andrew is a yes. All righty. Let's see. So timeline for annual town meeting. So Freddie, we're gonna get that warrant article in to them tomorrow, yes? To the select, to the townhouse? For the
Carla would like it tonight, so if you don't object, I will send it to her tonight.
okay, yeah, that's fine. All right, and then we'll get feedback. I'm gonna review it next week. Any other updates on the town meeting timeline?
You
Okay.
have a meeting on the 16th. We want to be sure we have a quorum because you're going to define the MOU and any other items that might come up also from the meeting you have on the next week with the selectmen, Andrew. And also just a final look at did I say the MOU? But in case anything comes back substantial on the draft warrant article that Andrew and I aren't capable of changing, if they say this won't fly, so that you could revote if we had to. I don't know that you can revote that late, but
Okay,
just so the 16th is an important, and then I don't know the schedule because Betsy's not here right now, but did you already vote a meeting right before town meeting to deal with anything that sometimes?
yeah, I did ask to hold a room for us for town meeting. So that
So-
came,
David and Kristen may not know, but you typically meet before town meeting, but you don't have to meet, if there's no reason you don't meet, right, Andrew?
right, nothing comes up, but there's nothing pressing that we need to discuss or any changes. Then it would be if say one of the articles we were posting, they wanted to reduce the reduce the amount, or we're gonna make a change or pull an article or something like that. That's what we've used it in the past. So.
Yep.
All right. I think we're good on that one. Next one, chairman's report. I got nothing. I mean, I can tell you that I walked the golf course with Mark today and they're moving the tees on the golf course. That just has to do with recreation in general. On that, meeting minutes. I think, do we have meeting minutes come out?
She did send them out.
Yes.
So is there a motion to accept the meeting minutes for
So
our last
moved.
meeting?
That was a motion. I'll second it.
I made a motion to accept the meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Ben,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes,
David,
Yes.
Mark?
Yes,
And Andrew is a yes. So the next meeting, I think Freddie just says the 16th. Other than that, we need one more motion.
Motion
make
to
him-
adjourn.
second.
Sorry.
All those in
David, beat-
favor, Kristen,
Yes,
David,
Yes.
Mark,
yes, and Boston College is up by 7, David, so you can catch the rest of the second half.
All right.
and
They had a
Ben.
better game last
Yes.
time out too.
Andrew's a yes. Okay, if everyone could just hold on 1 second, I want to just do one other thing. Oh, what was that? 1 second here.